In this video, we're going to learn how to use Revit to import and quickly place POGs inside of a store floor plan. So we start with something that looks like this, a spreadsheet of all of our POGs, and then we'll end up with something that looks like this. And within a matter of seconds, all of those POGs will be placed inside that file. There are 4 steps. One is to format the data, then to import it into Revit. Then we're going to use something called Dynamo Player, which runs a script to help us place all the POGs. And then the last thing is to go over some of the functionality and how to work with the POGs inside the floor plan. We have 5 assets we're going to use. One is the actual POG spreadsheet. Another one is a POG formatting template. The third is a Dynamo script that we'll install. Fourth is a POG staging file, which will then contain a POG family or component file inside that. So our first step is to format our POG data. We're going to go into Excel and take a look at our POG data. It'll look something like this. We want to reduce this down to POG numbers, then POG descriptions, and then the linear feet for each POG. So anything else that's in there that is extraneous, you want to just delete those columns, get rid of that information. So we're just left with these three types of information. We're then going to take our first one, which is the POG numbers. We're going to copy those cells. We're going to say, insert copied cells, and we'll have a duplicate of our POG numbers. It's important that this A1 field right here has nothing in it, so we're going to delete whatever's in there. It's also important to make sure that everything else in here doesn't have empty fields. I don't think Revit will like that. We then need to format these headers up here so that Revit recognizes them. And to do that, we're going to open up this POG format template. When we do that, you'll see that there's just 3 headers right here, and they're in the same order as we have that other file set up. I'm going to copy those. I'm going to close that guy. I'm not going to save it. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paste them into these 3 fields here. Again, notice that A1 is empty, so we start with a B1. It says it's POG number, POG name, POG length. We're going to then come over here to File. We're going to export this, and we're going to export it as a CSV file. So if it's anywhere else here, you're going to need to come and select this right here. It says CSV. We're going to say Save As, and then we're going to save it to a place we can recognize. In this case, I'm just going to call it POGs for Revit. If you notice, it should say .csv. That's very important here. I'm going to say save. And it says we're going to lose some compatibility or use some functionality. If we save it that way, that's okay. We're going to hit yes. And then very important to close Excel afterwards, because Revit will recognize that that file is being used if it's still open. And it's just a funny little thing there. Now if we look at our template where we saved it, our POG information, we right click on it and we say open with Notepad. It'll open up and you'll see it's a text file. Each of these values is separated by a comma. CSV means comma separated values. And if you notice, this very first value right here again is empty. That's very important. Revit needs it like that or it will choke. It'll kick it back. So we just formatted our data. So we're going to move on to step 2 right here, which is importing our data. When we go into our asset folder here, we're going to look for this file right here called POG staging. We're going to open it up. It's going to be a Revit file. If we scroll down to the bottom of this floor plan or sheet, you'll see here's a POG. It's a data device. That's the kind of family it is. And if you come over to the side here in the families, you can see that there's only one in here right now. And what we'll do next is we will click on this guy. We are going to edit it. When it opens up, I like to look at it right here. It just helps me see it a little better. Just shows you the construction of it, some of the things that are helping this thing work. We're going to come up to Insert, and then we're going to go Import Family Types. Select that. Right now, Revit is looking for files that have a TXT extension. Our file is a CSV. So what we want to do is change this and go All Files. And you'll notice that other thing is populated in here. And so now we just got to navigate to where we saved that CSV file. In this case, there's pogs for Revit.csv. Again, if it was reading TXT, we wouldn't see it, and it can be a huge source of frustration when you're looking for this file. I'm going to hit open. We have a few different options right here. The first one is delete existing family types and import new types. We're going to do that. And as we've done that, you can now see that this file or this family component is now reflecting some POG information. If we come into this family types button here and we come up here, we can see here a list of a bunch of POGs that are now inside this one family. So our next step is to take this thing and load it into that POG staging file. When we do it, we hit OK. We're going to say this is important. We're going to say overwrite the existing version and its parameter values. And when we do it, we don't see anything changed. But if we select this guy, we come over here now, we will notice that in here that we have a bunch of different types. And I can select one and it'll update over here. I can select any number of them. But you can see they're all in there, which is really pretty fun. Oh, and you'll notice that because this one has 0 feet, it literally just has a little tick mark for a dimension string. So let's go to something else just to see what it looks like. In this case, this one has 8 foot, and the dimension string is extended to 8 feet. Another way to verify is to come that this thing is loaded properly is to come over to data devices, POG types. When we undo this little checkbox here, we can see here are all the POGs that have loaded in this, including our sample one. And because we don't need that one, I'm just going to delete it. And we're going to move on to the next step, which is now populating this page with all these POGs. So we just imported all of our POG data. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to place all of our POGs, and we're going to use something in Revit called Dynamo Player. If we go to Revit, we're going to come to this top on the tabs up here. We're going to come to Manage. All the way to the very right, we have Dynamo Player. We're going to select it. You'll see a window show up, and you may have some other kinds of scripts in here. These are like actions that are automatically done, that you can have automatically done. In this case, we got to point this to our script. Our script looks like this. You find in our desktop, POG exercise, in our POG asset folder. It's called placeall, pogplaceall.dyn. What we're going to do is we're going to point this to that same folder. And in this case, it's on our desktop. POG exercise. And we can only point to the folder, which happens to be assets POG placement. And it's the same one right there. So we're going to hit OK. When that happens, we now have this one script that's loaded up, which is the one we want. If we hit play, we're going to notice it thinks for a second and nothing happens yet. That's because it wants to know what kind of family type we want to place. And in this case, it's a POG type. And we can just select any one of these. And then when we hit play again, it's going to run and start stacking them vertically through here. And it just takes a matter of seconds. We can then close down the POG player. This one's our sample one, so I'm going to just delete it. We don't need it. But you can see they've all populated and run all the way up the page. And that's why this page is big, in case you got a ton of them. And you'll notice that this was an 8-foot one, and the extension line is 8 feet. So it works pretty well. Our next step is now to take these all and copy them and put them into our actual file where we can use them. So we just placed all of our POGs on our staging sheet. We're now going to create a parking lot, or essentially copy and paste them into the actual drawing that we're working on, or actual story we're working on. We'll go back over to Revit. We'll zoom on out until we see all the POGs. We will select them all. I'm going to hit Control-C for copy. I believe this is also the copy button right up here. We're going to come to the floor plan, and I'm going to hit paste. I can also say paste from clipboard. And there's going to be maybe a couple notices that come up. There shouldn't be any issue, but we're going to click on here and click off. And now all those POGs have been placed in here. Again, you can also come over here and look at the data devices and verify that they are in fact all in here. It's one way to look at them, or cross-reference anything if you're questioning it. But the way these work, and they're pretty fun, is we can select let's select a couple right here, and I'm going to drag them into our floor plan and show you how they work a little bit. You can take them and you can hit the space bar and they'll rotate around. They should stay legible or read to the, I guess that's the left. One other cool thing that they do is they have some alignment features built in. If for some reason if we wanted to go run along here, we could come up here to this alignment feature, which is also AL. So we can click on that, click on a place we want to align it to, and then there's an invisible reference line inside the POG. So we can click on that, it'll jump to there. Now we still have the tool selected. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to select the edge of the gondola, look for the invisible reference line. And when I click on it, it will now jump right up next to it, which is pretty fun. In this case, we have a file here that's 1 foot. And again, we can hit spacebar to move it around. Since we need it horizontally, we'll go ahead and click it one more time. I'm going to click right here in this case and look for that reference line. It should jump to there. Then click on this one. And where is it? There's another one. And it'll jump right in there. So looks like there's a gap there. So maybe, I don't know, something like this might happen. But maybe this whole thing is messed up and this line isn't really working for you. Let's say you have a situation where you got 7 feet, or I don't know, 6 feet. In this case, it says 0 feet. Let's go ahead and change that. If we have to monkey around in here and do anything, we can come in here and say, change the POG length. In this case, we're going to type in 72 inches. And I'm going to hit OK. Our dimension string snuck out here, or extended out here. I'm going to hit a space bar to rotate it again. I'm going to align it right here using AL, the align button. Find that invisible reference line and it'll pop to there. And I'm going to come to the edge of the gondola here, select it, and then find the invisible reference line. But we got an issue in that this thing would potentially wrap around here, so that may not work for us in this case. So what we can do is select it and then come over here and say we want to take off this top line. And so it's now invisible, and we will come up to annotate and get our detail lines, and I think it might be called a POG line or something. Maybe it's not. There we go. And now I can kind of draw this thing and kind of reference, as far as this POG line actually goes. Let's see, I forgot one little thing potentially. There we go. So they're a little bit customizable in situations like this, or if the line isn't behaving for you, you can do this kind of move as well. There is an option to use a bottom line if for some reason it works like this better, or you need to have it run along the bottom. In this case, the same thing. I could actually align it again and say align and find it there. Oh, that didn't work so well actually. Select it again. I'm going to hit bottom line, and I turned off the top line, so that's what it looks like. And then hit this. We don't want it there. That's not good. So this one is going to be fussy. It won't work quite the same way because we have some flexibility built in that isn't letting us do it very nicely. So we're going to have to move it over manually in this case, I believe. And that's how those guys work. I hope this helps.